Hello, Fear Hippie here is here, and today we are going to see what appears on my YouTube recommendations. We will be watching a video of Professor Hens, responding, I believe, like Gamer Boy is his name, and we will be responding to that as he responds to it, and it will be respawn section, and we'll have a bunch of different takes and different viewpoints of the games, and if content creators are really ruining D&D.
Hey guys, Hans here. A bit of a different video. Today we are gonna react. Gamerboy Ben made a video and talked about the influence of influencers or content creators on the game and what he dislikes about it. I found that very interesting, and I think I have some things to say about it as a response. So that's why I'm making this video. I think it's a very interesting topic where a lot of people have a little bit of misconceptions, maybe, or don't fully think their thoughts through. So I think I can
What's
add
up,
some on
guys?
the
In case
topic.
you haven't noticed, I'm doing a different type of video today. More of a rant, tangent type of thing, discussion, if you will. So I've been seeing a lot of videos pop up recently about how
Alright, that's
broken
neat.
or overpowered Thrill of the Hunt is, yet I haven't seen much talk of Shoulder the Burden. Like,
One thing that has to be said in the thumbnail of this video is my thumbnail from the second channel where I made a Thrill of the Hunt video where I played and like showed 46 seconds for a cleanse. If you have Calm Spirit, it's over a minute to cleanse a totem.
at
Yeah.
all, which I find very funny considering this perk can literally prevent a death from happening. And I find that much more broken and problematic than anything.
The reason you do not see it too much is basically because Show the Burden is basically a solo queue. You get immense more value out of it if you're our part of Swift versus solo queue. Um, while Thrill, you can use it anytime you want. You're not relying on our teammates or anything. You can use it anytime you want.
Like, don't get me wrong, Throw the Hunt is pretty solid perk now, but are you forgetting what happens to hexes usually? They last like maybe 2 or 3 minutes before they're just gone, and then boop, done. That's it. There goes your perk slot you just brought in, by the way. Because, that just makes sense.
All right. I think one of the problems with hexes is they don't feel as good to play as stuff like
They feel miserable.
maybe pop, right? That's a good example because they can be gone very fast, and stuff like ruin, you don't really see the value of the park. So I think that's why
True.
they generally don't feel that good to play. I don't think Thrill of the Hunt is a very healthy park, I'll be honest. Maybe if the totem progress would decay instead of instantly being gone, but the park is highly cheesable with stuff of Face of the Darkness. There are many ways you can make Survivor Scream, which interrupts their totem cleanse, and at that point, they have to start brand new, and it takes 46 seconds again. That is just an unhealthy park, and is super annoying to play against. I think there are strong countermeasures. You can run totem builds right now, but if you don't have one like that, then you can easily run into a scenario where it's so frustrating and you just cannot get the totem cleanse because you scream every 25 seconds because of face the.
If you want to start a profitable business or
Make
make
sure
more
you
money at your job,
subscribe to me on
you already
YouTube and
know that
Twitch,
artificial
and then and once you subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitch, I can afford YouTube Premium and have no more commercials to deal with.
Your hexes can actually get a bit more value as opposed to just being gone within minutes. This is usually the thing that bugs me, and if it's like we finally have a different like shake up in the meta or something newer for killers, it just gets gutted because a lot of players say, "Oh, it's too strong," and it's just like, why?
I'm all for like changes in meta. I really enjoy like different changes in metas. However, I do feel like there are some changes. So it says totems. You don't get any skill checks during that. And you lose progress, and it feels miserable to constantly be losing progress like that. Um, so I don't really enjoy that aspect of it. I'm for like metas, even like healing metas or anti-healing metas. I'm more for those versus a total meta.
I think the problem is that how highly cheesable it is. I think also made a video on it where you have like singularity because the EMPs um, reset faster than you cleanse a Hexstone, which means you cannot possibly cleanse it because the biopod will reset and you have no chance to cleanse it by yourself. These kind of scenarios if like the normal killer who doesn't cheese everything plays it, then yeah, that's a different story. But like you could circumvent that by making Hex Totem's progress decay. That would be one thing that could maybe be considered, but overall it is just too annoying to play against. I think it's not necessarily about the strength, it's just the edge case scenarios are insane.
Well, like why though? Like it's just very apparent. Like I've seen the same thing with Xenomorph and like Ultimate Weapon. Oh, it's too broken, it's too powerful. I'm like, but it's a new perk. It's not a part of the meta.
I don't know what Xenomorph, maybe the tail cooldown, that was pretty broken, I won't lie. Like, I'm guilty for that. I think sometimes the tail would bug out and you would have like half the cooldown. And
I thought he was only talking about Ultimate Weapon.
I think it was pretty broken. I don't think he got any other changes, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, that was pretty stupid. And Ultimate Weapon, yeah, I think that was part of the meta, to be honest. That was a huge perk and kind of invalidated the entire info perk. The entire genre of info perks. Why would you use anything? You can just throw an ultimate weapon. Like there's no reason to use anything else. So it kind of like power crept every single other perk. Why would anyone run lethal and barbecue if you have ultimate weapon?
It's not gen defense. It just gives you info so you can go to chases more.
Yeah, well, but there are the info perks. Like I love using info perks. You have one in your build right now, which is Discordance, which you chose because it's like good, right? So it's like you can't make everything as strong as you want just because it's not general.
And it is especially good on freaking Nemesis because the zombies are attracted to loud noise notifications, so it helps out a lot. So Tinker's Discordance, those work phenomenal on Nemesis.
Progression. This is not how it works.
Like that's what it did. So that's now just nerfed to the ground to where no one uses it. There we go. And then we've
honestly a bit sad. I kind of dislike that, to be honest, because it got nerfed to such a degree where using it is just like, why? You have Darkness Revealed, you have other perks. Why in the world would you ever use Ultimate Weapon? Which is,
yeah, I feel like Ultimate Weapon should have a strong effect just because you're going out of your way to open up blockers. And I really feel like the main downside is I feel like Conspirit's kind of weak because it slows you down so much on totems. It's not really worth it, and I feel like if we buff Conspirit, that would help out a lot with both issues.
yeah, that's sad. I
Make
absolutely agree with that.
Ultimate Weapon counterplay feel more rewarding, make Totem counterplay feel more rewarding.
Happen, which I admit, pretty strong combo, but it still moves away from gen defense. It's different. But it's just, I don't know.
Wait, what are you talking about?
It's still, so that's now just nerfed to the ground to where no one uses it. There we go. And then Weave of Attunement happened, which I admit, pretty strong combo, but it still moves away from gen defense. It's different. But it's just, I don't know. It's very annoying.
Actually, to be honest, Weave, I don't think was that strong. The perk in itself worked off basic attack, which means the strongest killers don't have the crazy value for it, which I kind of really appreciate. The problem
I do enjoy that.
I think was that the majority of survivors did not understand that they were revealed. If they don't know what the perk does, then the perk icon in the bottom right will not tell them what is happening. They don't know that they're revealed. And on top of that, the item that revealed them was not shown to them, which is a massive problem.
Okay, I just saw this. During 2v8, I believe they had an icon that stated you were revealed. I feel like they should include that with the Weave Attunement and maybe a few other perks. I think that would be some interesting mechanics to have where you actually see the stats set of your revealed. So I think that would be very helpful.
Problem because in a 60-meter radius, finding a key somewhere in the grass is literally impossible. That is unreasonable. So showing the item was massive, and I think that should have been done. I don't know if the aura like range nerf had to be done. I'm not sure. I would not.
Yeah, I don't think the range nerf had to be done.
Massive noob stomper because you would win games against clueless survivors so hard because you could see them 24/7. If they don't know what's going on, they will definitely lose. But at the same time, if survivors just bring their items to the edge of the map, well, then you're down 2 perk slots and you have no value. So Yeah, relatively easy counter, but a massive noob stomper.
Like doing that.
Yeah.
It just seems.
I'm very glad that it does actually reveal items to survivors because I was getting tired of going around the entire map and then picking up all the litter of survivors leaving their toolboxes in the middle of the map and the killer getting ultimate weave value.
Seems like people just want to go against gen defense
Why is it
only.
teleport?
Like I'm serious, man. It's like nobody just wants to have variety in the game anymore and just overreacts or overstates something on how bust.
No, I think variety at all costs is a bad idea. Variety is good and it needs to happen. And I think there are some points to be made about bringing like these perk archetypes a bit closer together. But yeah, it's gonna be hard to ever match Gen Slowdown. Same because it's just like counters the objective of the other side. At the same time, like anti-tunnel is always going to be the meta on Survivor side because it's the best to slow down the enemy's objective.
Something is. Mainly content creators responsible for this, but it still just annoys the hell out of me because it just creates this echo chamber from their fans to get it pushed to being nerfed. I know people are going to say, well, influencers don't affect the devs' decisions, you're overreacting. Shoulder the burden is literally Oddstarva's idea that came to the game.
All right, let me go back a bit. So influencers obviously influence. That's literally what they do, right? You are making this video right now. That's what you're doing. You're making a discussion video. You're voicing your opinion. That's how it is. That works for smaller creators and bigger creators, right? And like that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna voice my opinion. That's what I do. Like that's what influencers do, right? It's literally in the word we're gonna influence. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna go back a little bit.
To get it pushed to being nerfed. I know people are gonna say, well, influencers don't affect the devs' decisions. You're over.
I mean, it's like I understand if people have different opinions and they think they're that what I think or say is wrong, and you disagree with that. That's okay. We're never gonna agree on everything. Like surely we're gonna disagree on something or the majority, depending on what the viewpoints are. And I disagree with him, and we're all passionate about the game, and that's how it works, right? We all have our opinions. We want our stuff to be done, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But yeah, obviously influences influence, but also the community has their own opinion. Just because Odds says something doesn't mean that the opinion was not already there in the head. So I think he gets too much blame on that regard, honestly. Whenever he says anything, it's always his influence, and like, yeah, no, I think it's a little bit ridiculous.
Overreacting. Shoulder the burden is literally Oddstarva's idea that came to the game. Given it's not exactly how he wanted it, as he wanted it base kit, but the end function of it is pretty much the same as it was just meant to trade hook states, which is what it does, which is huge, very huge, and detrimental to the game. Like
true for the killer player. That's I agree with that. So one thing about the development of DBD that you might not know, so stuff is designed very early on in the creation progress, right? So I can guarantee you that that perk was made long before Odds made that video. So Odds made the video like 1.5 months ago, right? So generally, the design process for things is like literally chapters ahead. So by the time Odds made that video, the design for perks will be done, because that was like, he did that like not that pretty close to the PDB, I think. And yeah, this is not how the process works, and I guarantee you that that was already done by that point. Odds and the designer who did this just shared a brain cell in that moment, and I think the perk idea is pretty, I would say, generic, right? Like surely so many people have suggested this, or like something a little bit close to this, as a way to like counter tunneling effectively, right? That's just a very generic idea. And yeah, Odds wanted this as a base kit mechanic. Now it is a perk. It works a bit differently, but yeah, it transfers hook stages.
Okay, this is actually like one of the first times in a video where I actually disagree with Hens. I agree with him, like, people put too much double standards on content creators, where everybody's trying to influence big creators, small creators, and you can have echo chambers that form, but also sometimes the sentiment can already be there, which is you can speak out and kind of amplify it as an influencer, but it's only if it's really there that you actually truly connect to people, and then it becomes amplified. But as far as art's involvement in creating the show, the burden, I feel like he kind of did have something to do with it. Given the concept of transferring hood states, that's nothing new. There's plenty of just original perk ideas I've seen that involve that concept. So it's not really new. However, I will say that like if Share the Burden, literally has a burden in its name, and in Otz's video, he was even talking about the burden mechanic. So I feel like he did have a huge part in that. He could I was okay, may not a huge. I would say he may have 30% in it, I would say. But I'm not really sure. And I wish they would took more ideas from Ots when they created it because of the way how Ots was talking about imp implementing it as base kit was a lot more healthy for the game. Um, like we're getting in a situation now where it's such a good perk, why wouldn't you actually have that as base kit? Because I know it's not going to be a solo queue perk, but like in Swift, it's practically a must now. Um, it's that good. It's almost like old Borrow Time was, where everybody brought it, and I can see that happening in Shoulder of Burden. I am happy kind of they added the expose effect that does happen. I don't think Ots had that when he came up with his perk design, but it does help out a lot. But let's get back into a video.
But this is a good example of where content creators or influencers get blamed for absolutely nothing, for things that they don't have influence over. And that includes this.
Like it is.
Because by the time Odds made that video, which is very recent, no, that's too late. If it was one chapter later, then maybe, but no.
Like, not an understatement in that, like, at all.
Yeah, it's very influential. That's true. But
influencers do have an effect towards Dead by Daylight, and I'm kind of tired of pretending like it's
no. You're wrong on this. Guaranteed, you're wrong on this. Please take my word for it.
not, considering some of those creators are consultants. It's just really odd or weird to me how a lot of people are just stating how Thrill the Hun is problematic. Get into them address shoulder the burden, like at all. It just comes up.
Okay, I'm the only consultant which video was in the thumbnail was also a content creator. So I don't know if he's addressing me directly, because yeah, Odds and Rapid Main are not consultants. But I've talked about Shoulder the Burden. I made a video on my main channel. I think that perk is problematic. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like for that.
I find it strange Ots would not be a consultant. I would say he's easily the most influential content creator for DBD, and by quite a large margin. Like I've heard of people as soon as I got into this game talking about Ots. Ots was basically the Jesus figure of this game, where everybody takes Ots's word for fact, especially like with Toothless and whatnot. So it's kind of weird that he's kind of downplaying like the how big and massive Ots is as a creator. And I feel like with him, it definitely did have a ripple effect. I know that development times may take a couple months, but sure, the burden's literally your name. I feel like it has a correlation there.
Average user, it's okay if you have like 4 people with thousands of hours, then it becomes like ridiculously OP. I don't know, that's just a design problem, right?
Stuff is
It's poorly designed, show the burden.
I've also noticed how killer players have just been having to deal with so much shit, like just these past 2 years alone. Like, here we go, let's list off. 1, base kit BT. Drivers just get a like free perk, just because why not, you know? base kit
No,
anti.
that's a good reason for this, because like if your teammate didn't have ball time at that point, that's why it's called base kit BT. You literally could not play the game because killers would just be literally right next to the hook, and if you didn't have
Yeah, so he's going back to a concept I was talking about. I feel like we should have base kit shoulder the burden. I feel like would be healthy, although we need to change some things about it.
this is pretty damn stupid and ineffective, especially in solo queue. So yeah, that really didn't work out. I think base kit BT is a massive win for the game, and yeah, I don't think anyone like hard to argue against that. I'm sorry, but like base kit BT gives survivors a little bit of a leeway, and if you don't have 1 out of 2 parks, well then you're just screwed, right? So yeah,
I camp, so the survivor can just unhook themselves, basically like Deliverance, if the killer's
he
just
just said anti-camp, yeah.
hovering around there.
Not a
Gen
big fan.
regression limit, you can only tap the gen 8 times. You can only tap it 8 times, and this was brought into the game because of problematic killers like Skull Merchant, and maybe Singularity, like a bit, but mainly Skull Merchant.
No, you understood it in this, but not on the thrill. That's a bit sad. Because like it's kind of
Yeah.
like the same problem, right? Like the
Is
edge
the
cases are
same
really the
problem.
not
Very
the generic
similar.
thing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Gen regression limit. It's kind of annoying with this stuff like Jolt and Eruption because you can't get the max value, but maxing out a gen is pretty damn difficult. I think I had it happen like maybe like 3 or 4 times in the last year out of memory, so it really doesn't happen. Anti-camp, I am not a big fan of anti-camp at all.
I wonder how nice the Sins play, or how much he dominates in the game. Because I've maxed it out several times this year, especially towards like in the game. I'm also like a big user of Surge. That probably has a lot to do to it as well. I also really like Eruption. I wonder how, like, does he just run strictly Pain Res Pop, or what's his loadouts looking? Because fairly common to max out a gen on the regression blockers, I feel like.
I think it's horrible. I don't like anti-camp at all. I think it's artificial and it doesn't even stop camping. So yeah, not a big fan of that.
Merchant was the case for that.
But it's like I feel like there's some stuff missing in this list, right? Like it's a bit
So
one-sided.
because of a couple killers,
Another thing about the anti-camp is I wish they actually showed the bar to our survivors when the anti-camp meter was going off. I also feel like the killers should have that info as well, so they can figure out where is best to locate themselves. And like not count, but at least know how to properly proxy count. And then from there, you can maybe see about changing the range of it. Um, I'm still not quite sure if it's the anti-camp is a big cylinder or a dome. I'm not quite sure of it. I think it's a cylinder. But I'm not sure.
everyone gets to suffer because of that. I'm like,
I don't
what?
know.
Why though? Why?
Yeah, because yeah, you answered your own question, right? Yeah.
And that they also gave survivors a HUD. It's helpful. Don't get me wrong. Like it gives solo queue helpful
Huge.
plans, but
Huge.
nonetheless, this is still a buff to survivor.
Okay, you acknowledge yourself. It's really helpful. Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
incredibly helpful and
Very
massive.
healthy. I enjoy it. Love it.
Massive for
We
solo
need
queue.
more stuff
Really
like that in
helpful.
a game.
I think the solo queue buffs should go even further, in my opinion.
Yes,
But
Like
yeah,
agree
that's
with
what
Hens.
killers have been having to deal with these past 2 years. Like all that.
I mean, okay, bro. Like you
It's
missed
just-
like half the things that
It's
happened.
just
but-
wild, man.
Okay.
But there's just been so many things lately, like going against killer players that are just going to give new players who want to try killer and not even want to try because of how much of a headache it is to deal with. Like, can we
True.
have a little like killer HUD for killers? That would be nice to see how many hook states
I agree.
like we have towards the survivors.
Honestly, I think killer is a massive overstimulation. I absolutely agree. Having a killer HUD for hook stages, I think at this point should be reconsidered because shoulder the burden kind of makes it really iffy. And that one thing on the hook stage, I don't know. Like it also doesn't show who the hook stage is taken away from. It only shows who got the extra hook stage. I'm not a big fan at all. Like at this point, it gets so complicated. You might as well just show the show the hook status, especially because if people want to tunnel, trust me, the people who sweat and want to remember who to tunnel, they will remember. That is not a measurement.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna increase.
Yeah, I'll agree with him there. It is way too confusing in Ramiro hit states, and honestly, it's to a detriment of survivors a lot of time. Like I was trying to just have a chill game. I wasn't trying to two hook everybody or anything like that. I was doing a little tunneling, a little camping, but like really, really chill about it. Like where I was just whoever I picked up, it's just like muscle memory at that point. And I ended up two hooking every single person and then getting teabagged at the end because I didn't fully camp and didn't fully tunnel. So I got punished because I didn't camp and I didn't really tunnel too much. And that just felt bad. It felt really, really bad. Like I was getting downs very quickly. And for me to come out with a two hook on every single person, I'm like, a whole time match, I was panicking. I'm like, I had to have a third hook stake on somebody at this point, and I didn't have a third hook stake on anybody at that point, even though I two hooked every single person. And it was a really, really good match, but it felt really horrible to lose, just because of the shoulder the burden. Um, so I believe there should be a hub for that. I also believe like there needs to be some more info for killers. I'm also would consider like what if the killer has some way to tell what het spurts are which het spurts? Like maybe if you go up next to it, a little prompt pops up, you tell you what exactly het perk is on the ground. So you can figure out if you need to protect that one or if you need to let go or get another one. There are some ways you can tell, but there's be very confusing in the moment. I believe like we should have that. And more controversial, built-in lethal pursuer. I would be a fan of that, especially for a lot of newer killer players. It's basically the windows of opportunity that killer players are not aware of. And I feel like it would be very good for newer killers to actually be able to look and see, oh, that's the survivors. Given it can increase the effects of distortion, or usage rate of distortion, I still think would be a healthy change, especially if Lethal Pursuer was tuned down. I think it's 3 seconds plus 2 from the additional effect of it for a total of 5 seconds. But if they just turn it down 1 second and then plus the 2 seconds, I think that would be good way how to balance it. Just make it where if it's built in, it's not as strong, and you still have some reason to run Lethal Pursuer, where the actual increase of effect gets stronger, much like how they did a bunch of the changes lately, where they decrease the numbers but increase the base effect. Well, this would be the reverse.
Tunneling as much as people would think.
That'd be pretty nice and cool for beginner killers
like,
mainly.
Also, like the entire concept of like confusing people into not doing the right thing by like refusing to give them info. I don't know, bro. Like that seems a bit iffy to me. So yeah, I'm actually in favor of that at this point, especially with shoulder the burden. Even before that, I think I don't know. It seems a bit iffy to show survivors the hook stages and not the killer.
Mainly beginner killers. I know people who are already like experienced in the game, like understand the hook states and everything like that. But in terms of like newer players, being a new killer is like
it's harder than it's ever been.
Well, man. Like it is.
It is way harder than it's ever been.
Like you start off with basically no perks most of the time, and you're trying to learn the game, and then it's just like a whole stressful mess to deal with. But for experienced killers, they don't have to deal with that too much. But I'd say, like, can killers get a HUD finally to keep track of hooks?
I absolutely agree. Playing killer, especially if you're new, is a massive overstimulation, and that's why a lot of people don't do it. And I think that could help with it. Yeah, I agree.
Give newer killer players like something. I don't know. I'm just tired of like seeing this narrative throw the hunt OP nerf it now when it barely just came out, and it's actually giving Hexes time to shine. Let's actually have some variety in the game and let.
No, I honestly, I think Pentimento is still for the normal user. Penti is better than Thrill, unless you want to abuse the edge cases where you make the survivors and you interrupt them.
And they combine together.
Hexes are shining right now, and people are massively sleeping on that. And it's like, I don't know, maybe, yeah, I would honestly try Ruin Undying Penti, especially on stuff like Nemesis. I think is
okay. So one of the hard things about Hexes is they're already hard to find. I like the effect of Pentimento. However, it's also a little hard to find at times. So I wonder, the same way how we fit Sweave Attunement, would it be a good idea to make Pentimento Hexes glow white? Because a lot of times what happens is you cleanse a totem and you rotate to your other side of the map because the killer's coming to you, and then you work on a gen in towards a different side of the map. Well, you know where that totem is, but then the killer is going to be making their rotation to you normally. But your teammate who's available, he can cleanse the totem, but he's not free. Or he is free, but he doesn't know where it is. So maybe if we make Pentimento totems glow white, I feel like we resolve a lot of the problems that Pentimento has.
Pretty dumb.
I like the numbers itself. I think the numbers are pretty balanced right now.
Definitely, as a park, also a bit problematic. But yeah, I think as it stands right now, Penti is the main thing that makes Totem shine. It is not actually Thrill of the Hunt.
Let people try new things and shake up the meta and have a good time doing so.
I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry. It just worries me with how the direction of the game will be going, and I don't like or feel how some content creators can just get things nerfed. I just look the other way when it comes to something clearly shock and problematic, and then go after something that's decent for killer players.
Yeah, I would honestly suspect that your algorithm shows you killer content and not survivor content. I made a video on Shoulder the Burden. You might have not seen it because it's survivor content. You've seen the Thrill video though because it's killer content. So I think there's like a personal bias there maybe. But yeah, I think it's the.
That's actually a really good point. I don't ever really think about like the bias I get from YouTube recommendations of how like I may watch more killer content, I may watch more survivor content. I try not to. And it's kind of can be hard to prevent, but you don't really ever know like just how much of it is you're being pushed different things. But yeah, I think that's probably a good place to end the video. I enjoy watching both of their responses and seeing how they talk about the different issues. I've been waiting for a long time, or since really the Thrill changes came out, and there are issues such as the UI for Killer being poor at this point. Along with Weave, they talk about a lot of subjects, and I love it. Honestly, I wish I could talk to either one of them and kind of have like a real conversation with them. Probably never gonna happen, but I love both of their content. Where is the original video is here.
Sorry for interrupting.
And it was by Game Boy Ben. I did enjoy the way how he made his video, the points he talked about. I probably agree with him about the same with both of them really, but also disagree with him the same on different issues. But that's the way how life is. So anyways, thank you for everybody who watched this video. They're both awesome and excellent content creators. Give them a like and follow. And I will see y'all in the fog. Have a great day and Merry Christmas.